Hi,
Good morning.
it's Lynn with Real and Raw. This is Lynn, and you are.
I'm Brian. Good morning, good afternoon, Wednesday, whatever time it is for you. We're honored and grateful that you're here. If you're a loyal listener or if you're catching the replay, we're happy you're spending some time with us on Tuesday.
These were little napkins from Baker's little birthday the other day. Thank
Nice.
you. Oh man, he had fun with cake and everything.
Good.
He's having his lunch right now, and then
I,
he's
I
taking a
haven't
nap.
learned that because I still do that to today. When I eat cake, I just got to make sure I shave that morning, otherwise it turns into a real mess.
Now I know why you love being a wedding planner.
Oh
Because you
yeah.
like the cake part.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Is it time to cut the cake yet?
Why is our cake got impressions in it? Why is there a big hand on it?
I don't know. Baker's like cake.
But
Oh,
up, up, up.
yep. So yeah, you're probably the one that suggests really good bakers, right?
Not really. Usually,
You don't care what
where I excel at that is defining why are you even having dessert? No, seriously, like why? It's like, okay, a cake. All right, are you doing it because you don't care? Are you doing it because it's the simplest, the easiest? I try to get people to the source of why they're making a decision versus just, it's not challenging them. It's just making sure that they're not just glossing over details or special moments that they can create.
uh
I think a
yeah,
lot of I think a lot of times people become numb to things and it's just like, yeah, you know, um, but there's an outcome attached to everything that happens on wedding day, whether you realize it or not, is that there's an intention and there's an outcome that's either going to happen because you created or it arbitrarily just happens. And there's a clear difference between arbitrarily choosing or arbitrarily letting something happen and creating that moment and the outcomes, right? If
yeah.
it
Well,
arbitrarily happens, you have little or no control over it. And plus, you might not like the outcome. But
yeah.
if you actually create what it looks like, you take full ownership of, and it's just like a book, a beginning, middle, and end. That is every moment of every part of a wedding. And it's like, okay, what do you want cocktail hour to look like? What do you want this to look like? And what do you want cake cutting to look like?
Yeah.
I mean, let's just put it this way. It's not uncommon for people that are at weddings, if they're doing a traditional cake cutting, if it's done well, it's something that people know about. There was an announcement made. There's spacing and staging of where everybody is. Is it just the bride and groom? Is it their wedding party and parents? Was there a narrative about the cake in some way, whether it's history or whether why they chose the flavors or the crowd interaction of things that they get to look forward to, right?
Yeah.
To me, that's the proper way of creating it versus what a lot of people say. They're like, man, I didn't even know that there was a cake cutting. And I'm like, well, that's arbitrarily created. Nobody there. There's just red flags everywhere in terms of how it could have been done better.
Again, that's why today, as far as a blank canvas and paint it any way you want,
Yep.
that whole scenario, the cake scenery right now, that makes a lot of sense as far as well, I mean, I've been to weddings where people just had pies or desserts,
Right.
you know, and I
But
mean,
but but here's the thing: is that it's like, okay, there's a reason why they chose that.
yeah,
From the narrative point of view, do you think it's going to connect more? Do you think it's going to connect guests more or less if you bring that narrative to the forefront?
no.
You know
Have
what I
you?
mean? I mean, you give me an audience. I don't know many people that go to weddings and they have pies at every wedding.
Yeah.
So just by that minority, there's a story behind it. Let's bring that forward.
Have you had a wedding like that where it's not
Absolutely.
been really? Have you?
Well, the thing and see, here's the whole thing is that it's not just the dessert; it's about the whole dining experience.
Yeah.
It,
So
it
so
it's not a cog in a system. It's so much more than that. If it's going to be well rounded, if it's going to be seamless, it's not just a cog where it's like we're filling a void. Well, how
yeah.
does it interact with everything else?
What was the backstory on it?
They actually had a local baker that the bride her parents would bring her cake or bring her pies from when she was growing up. And even when she was in college, when she was going through midterms or finals, you know, her parents would actually bring her a pie, you know, to her apartment and whatnot when she was at college. And we rose it to an idea of like having a different flavored pie on every table. So
Oh,
it would
cool.
actually be, not only would it be a centerpiece that people could talk about, right? And then obviously they could smell it the whole time until the moment comes where now the distinction is that number one is that they're open to the idea of, I think it was like 4 or 5 different flavors of pie around the whole room, one
Yeah.
different flavor at each table, but then it was a community event. So when it came time for that, everybody was asked, they're invited to walk around, see if somebody wants to exchange a piece of pie and all of that, and it created community
Yeah.
versus everybody only at their own table. And it was a conversation piece in itself just by not looking at it that we just need to get X. We just need to determine on the dessert with how it's going to play well into the whole flow of the event. So
Gotcha.
paint it any way you want, but usually the thing that you're looking at is not on its own. It's a part of a lot of other things, right?
Right.
You know, so it's kind of like looking at your trip, right? You might have milestones in like going back to family on Long Island or whatnot. That might be a highlight, right? But it's not the only one.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to drive those hours, well, then it's kind of a moot point that it's like, well, that's a highlight to me, but in order to get there, well, the
Yeah.
same thing here in this dessert standpoint is taking what it is that you want, right? You want to go, you want to create this cake. Well, how do we make it seamless? How do we make it play well with all the other pieces of your wedding?
Yeah.
Same thing. And so paint it any way you want. Now here's the thing. Is it going to take a risk? Is it going to take trust on somebody else? Might it be something you've never seen before? Those are all, if it's been done before, it's not original. It might not, it's predictable, right? But how people feel doing those things that they've never done before, that's how it gets things on a map. When people see it, they feel it, then they're like, hey, I was at this wedding and this cool thing happened. Well, there is only one way of bringing that to life is to do it well, that everything has been considered, right? And what happens when something arbitrarily happens is that there's no backup plan. What happens if this doesn't go well, right? And all of that needs to be considered if you are painting it the right way, right? Or at least you're open to that. Like if you're painting it, you don't know what it's going to generate, but you're open to like wherever it goes.
Right.
You've thought about it. It's not like, well, that wasn't supposed to happen. Well, okay, that doesn't mean the show stops. Or like if you're, let's say every time you paint, like you're on stage, you're giving lines for a monologue or something. If it doesn't go as planned, it's not like you can stop it on air and just say, okay, I need a timeout.
Yeah. You gotta go on.
Yeah.
Gotta go. Show's gotta go.
There's so much to that, and I'm glad you brought it up, but it's like, for me, it's a combination of why does this matter to you?
Right.
Or how does this matter to you? Like you said, number one is that if somebody is open to something other than the status quo, that's a cool thing. And I'm curious about why.
Well, it's funny because I think sometimes brides are like more worried about entertaining the people there than taking care of what they want, and then they always have those regrets after.
Well, I also think that they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And that's not something to be fearful of. That's something to embrace, but also the challenge, right? Something to be like, well, I don't, nobody comes to me because I do average weddings. They don't want that.
Right.
They want it done. They want to see how much personality, how much love, how much emotion can come out of that event. Not that we just hope it goes well, right?
Yeah.
If that's your bar, I'm sorry, but you're being a disservice to yourself, your guests, and your love story.
Yeah.
If you want to do average, that's okay. There's nothing. What I'm saying is not that it's wrong or bad.
Yeah.
It's just that give me just a little glimpse of your love story and how much love you have for each other, and I'll strip that apart in terms of how and consider why we might want to make this more personal.
Yeah.
We want to make this more dynamic and impactful.
Yeah.
You know, versus glossing over like, well, why are we doing all these things on wedding day? Oh, I don't know, because everybody else does. Well, that's the perfect reason not to. You know, like, look at the outcome you want and reverse engineer how you're going to get there.
Such is life.
Yeah.
Such is
So,
life.
you know, but here's the thing is that the cake cutting or choosing a cake or pies, that's just one of the many conversations that needs to have if you want the outcome that you desire. Period.
Right.
You know, and I'm sorry to say, but in this should be common sense, but whatever is not shared or talked about in the planning process can't come to fruition after the wedding's over.
No, all the woulda, shoulda, couldas.
Yep. Yep.
And we know what happens with all that.
Yeah. Right. But
So,
it you know, but obviously people have never done this before. You
yeah.
know, I get it, but my couples are open to being challenged. You
Yeah.
know, they don't
Well,
come to me because they want a wedding like everybody else's.
yeah. Well, I'm super excited to see your book because I can see that they're going to have to read that book. By the time they read that book, I bet you your life in as a whole to work with them would make it so much easier. Like,
Well, there's
you know, you'll be like, "Whoa, you thought of that? You probably can't even write fast enough of their ideas."
well, I was laying in bed this morning, and before I got up, I actually had to roll over, and I tried to memorize in my head, but the subtitle of my book, I actually had to text myself or email myself what it was, because I'm like, it might not be the final deal, but at least I'm fleshing out what that is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And now my opinion and my point of view is only one, but it comes from a creation. It comes from an experience standpoint, not A, B, C, D, and just doing the things that nobody is entertained or passionate about those types of experiences when it's very cutthroat. They want it
Yeah.
to be seamless. They want to have it be flow with emotion and feeling, right? Just like a movie, right? You have all the different elements of a story, right? And all of that is firing even on wedding day.
You got to
So,
have feelings. You better write that down.
well, no, I that's already there. But it's like I'm looking at this whole book process now that
Yeah.
you and Jerry just gave me the business, which I'm glad. I mean, it's not anything new. I've heard
So
it ever since
excited.
going to theater school and all
But
of that.
you got to hear things so many times, for it to just say, okay, this is it,
Well,
and
and the fact of the matter is that we all have something precious inside of us, and that's our own point of view.
that's right.
Excuse me. That point of view, interpretation, whatever that is, and so it's like that ties really in well. Is like don't dilute your own point of view or interpretation of something because it's yours, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like people fear more about putting out their interpretation or just being vulnerable with how they uniquely think. What's up,
Hi,
Tim?
Tim. How are you doing?
Hey, Tim.
I'd love to have Tim here on a Friday with us sometime too. He would be awesome. Yeah. I got to sprinkle these things out there.
Just like a little sprinkle over top of eggs, or some
That's
pepper or
right.
something. So,
right.
it's been cool because I'm taking my time, but at the same time, it's like,
it's all coming to fruition, it's all the layers are there. It's just a final draft of getting things in alignment. No, I'm excited. In the next month, you'll bore a baby, a baby book.
It's coming along. I don't want to put a time frame on it. I just know that I'm in motion, and
Well,
I
yeah.
know that there's lots of people that are going to hold me to it, and obviously you and Jerry are at the head of that. But I'm having fun with it, and I'm allocating a little time each day for it. So.
And again, that's the awesome thing is you've been doing this little bit all the time, and next thing you know, you're telling me you have like 20 chapter or 200 chapters or whatever, and it's like, holy shit, Batman, now it's the time to get that out there. So it's really exciting. It's not like you're starting from drawing and writing, you're polishing it up, and it's fantastic.
For me, it's like I've been writing for so many years just by doing it with a notepad next to me and just doing it unconsciously, right? It's just I have an idea, I get out of the shower, and it's like, ooh, I can't find a notepad fast enough. And it's just the accumulation of it's not long form, it's short form. It's little bites, right?
Right.
And so because people can take in short bites, and I mean, I did all this just by how I think. And then when you bring in how society reviews content, right? And so I would rather give everybody, I know, we talked about versions 1 or volume 1, volume 2. For me, I would rather immerse people in it, even if they read 25 pages or something. But these are short little,
Gotcha.
just
Yeah.
just little thoughts, right?
Right. Oh,
And
that's
and
awesome. That's
and I would
fantastic.
rather have people take it in as a foundational element. That's how the table of contents is going to be written, in terms of like philosophy, your thoughts, right? Start with all of those little pieces of content,
Mhm.
and then get into the specifics, like if this is
Right.
about reception or dancing or whatever. But the foundation should be at the forefront of that, because
Right.
that's the basis for everything. So
Right.
it's cool, and that mind mapping stuff really helped out. I'm still working on it. I'll be sending it over to Jerry as soon as it's done.
So when you say mind mapping, are you using a tool, or are you just literally
No,
just like circling? You're
just putting it down on paper.
okay.
Like,
Awesome.
just like turning a piece of paper horizontal, right? So it's
Yeah.
left to right. And just, kind of like having a bar, and then
Nice.
obviously
But
mind
are you
mapping.
doing? Yeah. But are you doing it actually like on paper and taking picture of it, or oh,
I'm
awesome.
doing it on paper, and I'm using a
Nice.
mechanical pencil.
Yeah.
But it allows me to not only see it,
It's amazing. Yeah.
but then the progress. So it's like, if that part's done, then it's like I can cross it off, and it's like you're
Yeah.
just moving your way up to instead of it being a vertical ladder, it's a
Right.
horizontal ladder, so to
Yeah,
speak.
and that's kind of what I've been doing with my topics that I want to talk in my book. I'm writing those out, and then I can go every day and say, okay, write about this one, write about that one. So it's a great concept to take that,
Well,
bit by bit.
and the unique part about it is that I didn't realize this, but the writings are, even though that it might be catered to weddings or wedding customers or family or friends or other businesses or planners, is that the messages are universal.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you really step out, like, there's a there's a good friend of mine who's a professional speaker, and you know he does a lot of seminars for the wedding industry, but he reminds everybody that it's like, I'm a business guy, but I speak in front of wedding people.
Right.
That's where the mental comes across. That's why it's universal concepts, is because
Right.
it can be taken anywhere.
That's just like Jerry. I mean, he
Yeah.
teaches to chimney sweepers, but he can talk to everyone
Hmm.
because the concept that, the concept is the same, kind of thing.
And see,
So,
that's where it's like, it might be weddings, but it could be galas, it could be birthday parties, it could be any type of an event that
mhm,
is
productions.
not DIY, perhaps.
Right.
That this stuff could be modeled after. I mean, theater's theater, as you
Mhm.
know,
Oh, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
A narrative is a narrative. It doesn't make any difference. But I
Absolutely.
think most people, like, if they're doing a DIY project, it's, is it more work? Perhaps it could be, but it's like, is there an outcome that you're looking for?
Right. Well,
And if you haven't declared that, how do you know if you're going to fulfill upon it?
from our topic here, if you look at the fact that when you say you paint it anyways, mapping things out and having, like you said, Lynn, this is kind of a different book and blah, blah, blah. You're mapping things out. You're doing it the way you want,
Right.
but it falls into structure later with you got
Right.
the content, you got the forward, you got the prequel, you got all these different, parts of the book that it's just a structure, but you did whatever you wanted within that structure.
Right.
And
Well,
so,
and for me, I've learned that it's like, I'm a simple guy, right? I want to make sure that there's value in the messages, right? They're
right,
short little bites, but it's like, whenever you read one, it's like,
you
wow, I
get
can read another one and another one and another one, and you
it's
get
awesome.
something from it,
I'm excited. I'm excited.
you know, and all it's meant to do is help. But
Well, no pressure, but I'll pre-order my book and I hope that I can pick it up by August. That's all I'm saying.
I'm
It's
working
that's
on it.
not really pressure. That's like 5 months away.
No, but here's the thing, and Jerry and you and I'm truly grateful for both of you and blessed that you know that you guys did that for me last week. Is
We love
because
you.
Jerry was 100% correct. Is that writing the first one is the most difficult. Now, you know, my vision for a book is not a whole bunch of words, like, you know, just words upon words upon words. That's not my direction for a book. I would
Yeah.
rather have them be colorful, different size, you know, just a different feel, you
Yeah.
know, given the line of work I'm in and the creativity. But get the first one out of the way, because then you'll learn all that it takes, right?
Yeah, exactly. All the elements, like, doing the book cover and stuff. I'm, and it's funny because I've been more worried about designing and making sure I know how to measure the binder and
Yeah,
make my own book cover. Then I'm like,
right.
Lynn, get your content done and then
Well,
worry about that,
well, and that's just the thing, is that, you know, when as a part of that show last week, it's like, you know, all the content is written, and usually how do most people write books, or at least from what I've witnessed, is that it's like they get stuck on the, you know,
Writing.
they spend an enormous amount of time writing the content,
Yeah,
and then they do every, you know, so they do they do all of it, and the
right.
content is what takes the longest, right?
And
And
you already got your
we're talking about
content.
people that don't have a crew of people, they're doing it on their own, they don't have copywriters, everything is
Right.
outsourced or whatever. And so to look at it from a standpoint that, and I never want people to lose the understanding of the message, right?
Right.
I might be a little, you know, rough around the edges and speak my mind and tell it like it is, but was the message good? That's all
Yeah.
that matters to me, right?
Yeah.
I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea, because I
Yeah.
challenge people, and you know, I have a different point of view on, you know, a wedding and how it can be, right? How a corporate event can be from a theater point of view, from an outcome perspective. But is the content good? I don't care what you think about me, but is the content good?
Right. Right.
That's the ultimate thing.
Right. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get lost in that,
Yeah. Well,
you know.
and that's the cool thing about what you're doing. You're putting your stuff out there, and who cares what to judge? You When you're published, you're published. When you're done, you're
Well,
done.
and the crazy part about it is, like, you know, just the, you know, I mean, everybody that said, it's like, okay, you're on the, you know, and it's meant with the utmost humility. But when you actually create a book and you're published, it's just like, no, just like education, nobody can take it away from you, right?
Right.
And it's like, how many people would never do it, but they would rather, you know, they would rather be jealous and say negative things about somebody. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
to just go through all of that, and then the
Right.
self-limiting beliefs, just the joy of having a body of work out there. I mean, you went through a lot to bring it to fruition,
Hmm.
you know, but then those that don't do it, it's just like, this is not like something that
Yeah.
is
Well, and it's funny because it starts getting, friends of mine from the time they're 50 and up. It seems like everybody writes a book. It's like, but because how many years you do say, man, I could write a book about this. I could write a book about that, and
right.
nobody does it, or they do.
Well, and I mean, you know, it's if somebody were to take the advice of, you know, write a book a little at a time, you know what I mean, instead of being like, I'm going to write a book, and it's like, you know, some people write books, you know, where they allocate a year and a half of their time, and that's all they do, right?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody's wired a little different. To me, it's like, if you write a little at a time, wow,
It's something, remember, instead of nothing, it's
yeah.
something. It's something huge now. It's something you created a monster. I mean, you created so much for a book.
Well, and you know, it's like the breathability of the brain, because, you know, it's like, it's got to be perfect, it's got to be this and that, and it's like all of this stuff is going on, instead of writing a little at a time, and it's like, wow, you're not so hard on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
Because,
think I think it's a great story on the fact that here we are. Well, get writing that book. Well, I have the content. What? We're like, what? Get your ass getting it going, because
yeah,
so I mean, you're really pretty much on a home stretch. I mean, even with editing and getting things, in order, you're so much further than somebody like me who hasn't. I have done subheadings and subtitles and different topics down, but I haven't actually written down
Right.
those topics. So, I mean, but you
Well,
inspire me to even work on that a little by little.
and it just blows my doors off how much content I actually have, and even on the show, what was it, late last week? I mean, another book came out where it's like I've got like, I don't know, 50 or 60 business quotes that I came up with, right? you know, I meet somebody at a corporate event or something like that. They want a business card. It's just like, hey, how about a signed copy of my book?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
yeah. I mean, there's no limitations.
Right.
It's
Right.
limitless.
Yep. Paint it any way you want is where you're at right now.
Yeah.
You have elements that are done. Some of them aren't done yet, but that's what I love though. And let's be honest. I mean, even if somebody's at a point where you're at, even if you were to turn away or turn everything over to somebody else to finish it for you,
Yeah.
you did all the hard work.
Right.
The point is it's done. It's getting done. It's just a process now.
Well, and it blows my doors off that it's like, my mindset has changed, from what others have told me. It's like, you can write a book, but the one thing you're never be able to control is how people are going to react to it.
Right. And who
You're not
cares
gonna be able
about
to.
that? No, you need to do your portion. And that's just it. Like, people can perceive all sorts of stuff. And lately I'm finding that even out more. Some people don't know the New York Puerto Rican attitude and how I say things.
Right.
And yet they're perceived a certain way. And I'm like, you know, I tell a story one way, you go off and tell the story another way, and it comes back to me, whoa, did I even go, where'd they get that? Until I say, well, hey, this is what I said. And it's just amazing. So the thing is just like a book, somebody might turn the pages. There's not enough pictures here, or there's just pictures, not enough words, or whatever. Okay. But that's not the point is you did something they didn't.
Right.
And
Well, and
however you take it.
And one thing that's been running through my brain is that if I can help one bride, I can help one family member, one wedding professional for the lifetime use of the book, or the lifetime.
Yeah.
If I can help one bride not make mistakes and have a different point of view about
Yeah.
what her wedding can be,
Right.
instead of settling what it
Right.
can be, one bride out of a lifetime of publication, a lifetime of however long this book exists forever, right?
Right.
If I can help one person.
Well, Brian, I know you're going to help a lot of people because there's a lot of girls out there that love to read wedding bride stuff even before they even have a freaking groom.
Right, right, absolutely.
So let me tell you, you got tons of people in that, genre. I mean, like,
well, and in the differentiation of several things of this book is that it given the industry I'm in, I think that people's understanding of a wedding planner is that we have all the answers. Not in my opinion. My opinion is that we have the questions and the relatedness. You know what I mean? Like, we can see a possible outcome being created as I talk with a couple, right, and their family members, right? I don't have the answers, but together we have the answers, right?
right.
It's a brain trust. That's why I ask a lot of questions, like power questions that go to emotion and go to heart, is because that's usually the outcome people want in those moments. They want something that is going to be a tearjerker for their family and friends. They don't know how to create it. They might have an idea, but when it's well-rounded, it gets to the source of it.
Well,
why are we doing this? That's my why. Why are we doing this, or why am I doing this?
It's the questions. It's
Number two is their
asking.
how.
Yeah, asking the right questions really opens those boxes of how you want to paint it. I mean, like you can look at, like, they've got those sipping paints or whatever, and you can choose to paint it the way the instructor is, or you can end up making it the way you want. I mean, like,
Right.
Well, it's an option. You might not like the way she did it that way, but you might have a better idea.
Well, here's the thing: is that giving couples and their families, right? In my opinion, a wedding is created by many people, not just one, right? Not just the bride and groom, in my opinion. Those are the theater days, right? If anything gets done for a theater show, it's a lot of people, even though that everybody comes and watches the talent, right?
Right.
Giving them the freedom that they don't have to settle. They can choose something above and beyond they ever thought was possible. That is what I want to fuel people with.
Yeah. And and I'm sure that most of what you're helping and giving people are something that's so priceless that you're giving them. I mean, it could be the small, minute little thing that can really make the whole event just because they didn't even think of that for themselves.
Correct. Yep.
And so it really is exciting to say that there is no price tag on, knowing and wondering and, what's your favorite colors?
And let's be 100. I want to be 100% clear with everybody. Is I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about money.
Exactly.
Right? It does not make a difference what your budget is. It does
No.
not.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying.
When you go through an understanding of who your priorities are, the outcome you want out of your wedding, right?
It doesn't have to be expensive.
No, it does not. Now,
No.
here's the thing, is that just because you have money to spend on a wedding doesn't mean it's going to enhance just because you have an abundance
Right.
of it. There's been weddings that I have heard about, I have not been a part of, where they throw money at things, ancillary things that have immediately no impact on what people remember or how it made them feel.
I mean, I've seen the nicest places and been to the nicest weddings, and the food was shit, or the cake was crap, or the music was terrible. Yeah. And that's all what people remember.
Well, here's the thing. That one thing infuses or sets the precedent for however everything else looks.
Right. Whereas if the couple's adorable and they've got a theme, you don't give a shit if the food sucked. You don't give a shit if the DJ sucked. You don't care about the outside elements if you're in tune with the couple and how adorable they are. Because really, that's what should take over the memory.
You give me a couple who has declared their love story. They share their love story, their love, who they are as a couple. They're transparent. They're vulnerable. They make their wedding personal and true to them. And give the audience an opportunity to feel that love and to feel that emotion and to play along with the whole event and the whole experience. And I'll give you a wedding that they'll never forget, guaranteed.
Exactly, but that's
because
what I'm saying.
It's not the cog, it's not the professionals, it's the process, it's the whole experience.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. If you set the tempo for just the people and the ambiance and people being there, they don't give a shit about the food. They don't give a shit about the cake. They don't care about the music. Right. They just see two people that they're happy with. And that's the part that when I've heard people say, oh, that wedding sucked or stuff, I'm like, you really weren't there for them, right? Because if you love these people, then you should be in love that they're in love and they're getting married. That's it. That's all that should be.
Well, and here's the thing is that by what I just shared earlier about the emotion, the love, and all of the personalization, this is not a thing you try. This is something that you try to infuse in as many different pieces of the wedding as possible.
Yeah.
And then it's an overarching experience, right? Is that you want to make sure that everybody that leaves that wedding are immersed within why you're husband and wife. Right. Now, I've shared this in other shows. I'm still waiting for the first couple to share this with me. Is that I've asked tens, maybe not 100, but I've asked a lot of couples, engaged couples, of have you ever been to a wedding where you knew the couple by what they did, the narrative, the emotions, the feelings, right? That you felt like you knew a couple more when you left the wedding than when you got there. Yeah. And I'm still waiting for the first couple to say yes, that they had their love story before the wedding, right? And that the wedding just brought that out and put it like a magnifying glass on.
Yeah. Well, actually, I didn't get to go to the wedding, but a classmate of mine and her husband's daughter, I mean, if they watched my show, they would answer. It was amazing. The father, my friend Danny, he's a caterer, a really, really awesome caterer. And for his daughter's wedding, they told the story on how she was abroad doing internship and all the little towns and stuff. So they had each station from every place that this couple had traveled, and the
Perfect.
foods they ate there and everything. Like, it gives me goosebumps because the dad made sure everything was just a memory down to the trip
Right.
to the altar. It was fantastic.
When
Yeah.
somebody had when some it's unfortunate when I hear this, but it's all too common, is that when somebody says like what you said, that the food wasn't good, this wasn't that, it's like, it's not that the food was bad, it's just that there was no intention, there was no
Yeah.
vision, there was no theme, there was no feeling, if you will.
Right. Right.
There
No
was no
flavor.
sustainability
No
of that,
flavor.
where it's, what's that?
No flavor.
No, because then all of a sudden, then it's like, okay, now here's my point: is that if the food was subpar, but you
Yeah.
felt
Yeah.
involved, you felt like your participation was necessary,
Yeah.
you would forget about the food.
Exactly. That's what exactly. That was my point in saying that. That's exactly what I'm saying. When you can't talk about the wedding couple, because I always love asking people, so how was the wedding? And when they say, oh my gosh, she looked beautiful and they looked happy and it was fun, successful wedding. When I hear, how was that wedding? Oh, that freaking steak and that shirt was nasty and I had to wait
Well,
and that kid, it was like, okay, so that's totally, you didn't get swooped up by being there for the couple. You didn't get swooped. Nothing happened to make you say, I feel love or romance. And,
mhm.
it's just all that stuff.
Well,
It's just
and
big
there's
telltale.
a deeper thing there from a foundation, is that there was none of the foundation established, in my opinion.
No,
You know what I
no.
mean? So it's like when that work that I recommend a couple does up front. They have conversations about the professionals that are priority to them, the must
Right,
haves, right?
right.
They invest in those people because they know that those people are going to have the capacity to take who you are as a couple and bring that to life for everybody, right? Without that, the only thing I've noticed from the couples I've been around, like one that they take their time to have a solid foundation with conversations together about who's most important to them and the outcomes that they want out of their wedding. That's a clear distinction versus somebody that they might not be on the same page. They start getting prices and all of that out in the marketplace, but they have no idea what's important to them. It's like it's like trying to, put a dart in an imaginary board that you can't see.
Yeah.
And then they get on a hamster wheel about what they really want their wedding to become, versus taking the time up front, having a clear vision, like what we talked about, the open road, right, last week, and then going from there. It's amazing what those hours or being on the same page as a couple can do for you in terms of, maybe like getting emotional and getting frustrated and stressed out. You're probably going to go there throughout a planning process, but it's not going to be as severe or as impactful as one where you don't know if you're coming or going, right?
Yeah.
Because you have the people that are going to make your wedding happen, and you know that they got your back.
But
So
usually when people are complaining about that wedding, my next question to them is, so why did you even go?
yeah.
And they're like, well, blah, blah, blah. Well, you didn't go with the right mind and you only saw stuff to complain and not be happy for the couple. So, I
Now,
mean,
now here's another thing. This is a true statement. The audience cannot react or respond to something that's not present.
oh, yeah,
You know what I
boom.
mean? Like the
Yeah,
narrative of the couple, the planning of it, how they made them feel, all of that. The audience are just part. They're just the
they're supposed to be the spectator. They're supposed to be the
yes.
audience, you
They're
know?
along for the ride. They're there. They want to
Exactly.
share in this with you, but they can't respond to something in a way that's not fair.
Exactly.
You know.
So then they got to just
If
bitch.
it's all, if the bride, like, let's say, for instance, if the bride was a little bit more demanding, or if there was family issues or something like that, it's like, well, the more that the elephant in the room becomes apparent and everybody doesn't know if they should say something or if they can really just be themselves, versus having it be like, hey, a very welcome and inviting and hearty occasion,
Yeah,
so everything, in my opinion, starts from the beginning. It starts
yeah,
from the foundation. Like, if the wedding was not, if it could have been better, which happens all the time. It's like, let's look back at the priorities. Let's
So,
look back at if they are on the same page about their choices.
so how often has it been that you've done a wedding where all of a sudden they're like, scratch what we're going to do. We're going to do this instead. Has that
It,
happened a lot?
it doesn't happen very often
Yeah.
because the weddings that I do, that they know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
You know, my niche is that kind of personalized high touch experience,
Yeah.
that the emotion, the personal touches, the engagement of everybody, and really going there with a love that
Yeah.
we are going to everybody here at your wedding. If they are participating fully, they are going to leave with a different view of you than what they came in.
Yeah. Hey,
That
Larry,
is guaranteed. Hey,
yeah.
hey, Larry.
We're going to see you next Friday on our
Next
show.
Friday.
Next Friday, right?
It'll
No,
be
no, 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 no. I take it back.
no two
It's
Fridays. Two
yeah,
Fridays.
it's Ken next week and then you the following week. Yep.
Thanks for
But
being here,
thanks
Larry.
again for signing up.
Does
Ha
that make
ha.
sense, Lynn? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And that's just it. It really is it's just we talk about it in a wedding content, but people don't understand that's just how life is. It's just how some people just love the drama and some people just like to make things seem more complicated than cut and dry and let go.
Right. Well,
And
I
you
remember a
know,
wedding that I had in 2011, and I
he
did the.
remembers the year too.
Oh,
So
absolutely, yeah, I remember. Is that uh, obviously it's like all my business is word of mouth referrals. So like when people when people see something and they're a part of an experience, that's the most authentic. You know, it might not they want the outcome, but it might not be like their style or whatever. But it was successful, right?
right,
The how is going to be different, but the outcome is what they want, right?
right,
And so there's nothing more authentic than being a guest at a wedding, right?
right,
It might not be your wedding and all like the little customized pieces, but the way in which they did it, how you felt, is non-negotiable. It either was
right,
there or wasn't.
right.
And throughout the planning process with this couple, and I did, let's see here, the bride's brother's wedding, and there was a part of it where they were busy with work. They were, they hit that wall, if you will, with planning and overwhelm. And here the wedding is coming close, and they're just like, we don't know if we want to do all of that stuff that we originally talked about. And I said, okay. I said, but just remember is that if you strip everything away, why am I here? I By reserving me, you acknowledge that you wanted me to create that kind of experience for you
Experience, yeah,
personally, right? So it would be a disservice to you and myself not to hold you accountable that this is what we're creating.
yeah.
I'm just being accountable to
And
what
so
I
how
was
did it
reserved
come
to do.
out?
They acknowledged it, that they're just like, yes, we were playing small, and we were just burdened by things. And then you come into life experience and work and all of this, and then just the jitters of getting married, everything mounted, right? And I fully get it, but
Yeah,
I'm only authentic and honest. I'm real.
yeah,
I don't beat around the bush. But
yeah,
also, though, it's like you're paying me a good amount of money to be a part of your wedding, when if you wanted average, you could find that
yeah,
anywhere.
yeah,
So I'm just reinforcing their commitment that they had to me, and reiterating it back to them,
yeah.
and taking a stand for their wedding, to be completely honest.
Well, Brian, the more I talk about to you damn weddings, if and ever I get married, I better start saving money now because I don't know if I can afford it. But I couldn't imagine having anybody else but you because
Well,
that
and
passion that you have is
and
just
let me
amazing.
point out something very clear, is that it's not the matter of money. It's the value.
Yeah.
It's how much of a priority that person or what they're going to do for you
Well,
is.
I'm saying your passion is priceless. That's what I mean. They're like, there's
Okay,
not enough
thank you.
money in the world. That's how I mean. I'm not really I'm
Okay,
just saying it's more that there's not enough money in the world. Just your passion alone
thank you.
is not even. It's just I, I'm sure there's people that feel like they could never repay you enough for what you
Yeah.
you brought to the table, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not
Well,
talking about dollar
and
and
it goes
cents.
both ways, because out of all the professionals that a couple chooses, it's like, I don't think to a lot of professionals, and I'm just speaking for the masses, of
Yeah.
really what it means, really what it truly means down inside of your heart to be one of those team players on a couple's wedding day.
Well,
It's not a
Brian.
transaction. And if it is,
Yeah.
that, no, I don't
Yeah.
serve people with a transactional mindset, right?
Right.
It's like we're creating history here.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
forever going to be indebted in their life, whether or not, they move away or whatever. I take that very seriously, and it's very, without people investing in me and us wanting to work together, I wouldn't have the life that I had.
yeah. Well, not only that, I'm thinking you need to get this book out, because someday you're going to need to get married, and you need somebody that at least knows how to help you with your wedding.
Well, I already have a couple of those people in mind. You know, I'll
But
have
they
to get
still need
married
to
on
read your book.
I'll have to get married on like a Tuesday or Wednesday, because they'll be busy on weekends. So,
But still,
like,
they can
Wednesday,
still.
what? Well,
Yeah.
I'm around a bunch of entertainment people and a bunch of planners. I mean, if they
Yeah.
do weddings specifically, they're meeting with customers during the week, or they're doing events on weekends. So I have to get
Yeah.
married on like a Wednesday or Tuesday.
But they still have to read your book, though, too.
Oh, yeah. I think that you and Jerry touched on something that really reinforced to me, or was really reinforcing, and that was is that we each have a point of view, and
Yep.
we should not dismiss that. We should
No,
embrace and bring that forward.
no, no. Yeah, I'm feeling like the necessity to start writing a book about, people's totally perception, and having that communication. When you don't understand something, before you go blab it to somebody else,
Yeah.
you better know what you're talking about before, I just had a recently situation, and I
Mm.
think it's funny that my New York attitude, sarcasm, somebody took it and embellished it in a way I didn't even know. I was like, well, what are you talking about? Why would I even bring that up? But I'll tell you after the show what it's about. But
Okay.
the part
Yeah.
that really just makes me laugh is that it's sad that people take this whole thing of what you spew out as a friendship, and when they don't take and spend time to say, is this what you mean? Or is this how it is? Or if you're just going to start talking without you're putting your spin of how you think it was perceived, again, paint what you want. Everybody paints what they want.
Yeah.
Picasso paints it one way, and people look at it whatever way. Everything is a matter of perception to each individual. We could look at the same painting, we could hear the same verbiage, and the comprehension only gets through to, and then the writer's like, well, that's not what I intended about this story.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
so with whether it's movies or whatever, I mean, people interpret things racist. Some people don't see it as racist. I mean, like, just these different angles. And so to articulate the best you can as far as the couple and what it is that they're there for a couple, they're painting it the way they want, and there's only one way to see it. They're they're enjoying each other, they're in love, and it doesn't matter how you see that painting, but that's what's at the end of the day is two people united, two people in love, and you had just that you had that bird's eye view.
Well, I mean, one of the questions I love to share or love to ask is, because everything for me is about coming from a place of nothing,
Mhm.
comes from a place, just like the blank canvas, come from a place of nothing. I'm not going to assume anything. I'm going to let my brain just take in what's there from the words that they use,
Right,
period.
right, and then
And
take from what's there, not add anything else that wasn't there. And
absolutely.
that's what people go wrong in a lot of shit.
And
And
see,
that's
that is the only way, in my opinion, to be on the same page as somebody.
absolutely.
Relatedness, friendship,
Mm-hmm.
likability,
Yep.
trust, all of those pieces that are essential, right?
Yep.
And that is only possible through a conversation. And
Absolutely.
it has absolutely, it has absolutely nothing to do with getting anybody to buy anything. Nothing.
Exactly. And that's why we touched really hard with couples earlier, saying, look, if you don't understand each other, figure out a way to understand each other. Figure out
Yeah.
a way to understand that sarcasm, that funniness, that flirtness, that whatever it is. figure it out instead of assuming what the hell you think it is.
Right.
And that is, you know, I'm telling you, I think more because I'm just so not about the drama, and I'm so don't take anybody literal anymore. Like I, I don't I don't care for that. I'm so beyond that anymore.
Yeah.
So to me it's just noise, and it's just like,
Yeah.
really. And so I look at it this point. I mean, when you're straightforward and you don't have a problem to punch, you go for it. And the rest doesn't matter. It really doesn't,
No.
So
Well, you give me any famous achiever or whatever, is that if they were to listen to all the critics and whatnot, they wouldn't do the
what they did.
masterpieces and the inventions and make a difference like they did if they believed everything or listened to everything that everybody said.
Exactly, exactly. But you
You know,
got to realize a lot of that noise really can ruin or wreck things.
100%.
And it's nice when you get your book out. That'll be another perspective that people will have in the industry that I guarantee, if you do a little bit of studying or searching and Google trending, you won't find anybody in your right niche that's going to articulate it the way you are. And the
No,
industry needs that. The
no,
industry needs that because of all the time you've invested in courses and different things and your takes on it.
yeah,
Because again, we could all take the same course and go out of there and have our own interpretation of that course,
right.
or what we're going to do with what we learned there.
Well, and to be at the source of, like, I am not going to settle for what's so right now.
Yeah.
I will literally be the stand for what's in the best interest of a customer,
Yeah.
a wedding customer, their families,
Yeah.
what they're going through emotionally, right? I will be at the source of that.
Right.
Now, do I want the credit? No, not in the least. But if I can be that voice that stands up for them, that lights me up. That's my
Absolutely.
calling.
Absolutely. And
You know,
I here we are here, but we talk about anything. But I'm like, that's why it's like I'm excited for you to actually go to wedding shows and have this book on there. Like, holy shit, people could
yeah.
leave it. I mean, you're doing a service, man. Like, I mean, the vendors near you better be buying that damn book too.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, it's like I could just see the whole thing. It's just like really stinking cool. I
It's
truly.
and I need to acknowledge, you and Jerry, for really pulling it out of me. It's just like, that obviously my self belief has wavered about this, and then when you elevate it to publishing, and the meaning I attach to writing a book, and all of
No,
that, but I'm coming down to the reality that
you
I
are.
made it something it wasn't. I made it
Well,
bigger than what it needed to be.
Well, and not only that, but you need to see the need for it. I mean, you need to see the duality in all
Mm-hmm.
spectrums. I mean, not too many people, and I've had many booths at wedding shows. Trust me, I've put a lot of money into those shows. And I'll tell you what, not too many, you walk by their booths and they have a book that they wrote
Right.
because how passionate they are about the industry. I have yet to see that. Okay. I
Yeah.
have yet to see that. And
Right.
I've gone to many wedding things. So I feel like that's such a niche that
Well, and I'm just blown away psychologically. Like, when I'm in an interaction or I'm at an event and somebody comes up to me and they say, "Do you have a business card?" I'm just ready. I've been ready for that day for years, to just look at their face and see how they react to, just have a little conversation with them, that sorry, but I don't have a business card, but would you like a signed copy of my book? That's
yeah,
my business card.
yeah.
That, to
Well,
me, or if I'm on an elevator somewhere and I strike up a conversation, or on an airplane, I write it out and I give it to them, and it's just like, to me, that there is
well,
no business
Brian,
card that's higher than that.
Brian, that's why I said you still got to make a little baby book because you're going to be carrying about 20 books. You carry these 20 books like this, you ain't going to get nowheres, okay? You
Right.
got to give them a little sliver. You got to give them a little sliver so they'll buy your other book. We'll
Okay.
talk about
Okay.
that. We'll talk
Okay.
about the fact that, yeah, you should give this sign courtesy. Here you go. I'm going to tell you right now. The first one, the top 10 suggestions for blah, blah, the top 10. in whatever little categories you're talking about. The top 10 things you must think of, and then refer to your bigger book. Boom.
Okay. Okay.
Because when you do that, people will get a taste of the bigger book.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
It does. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
see,
I
this is
think,
all foreign to me, you
yeah,
know, and
well, not
obviously,
no
like we
more,
talked
buddy.
about in previous shows about
Yeah.
blind spots, and that's one of them right there.
But no, that's what I'm saying, especially, and I'm glad you said what you said, because just a little page, just 160 page thing, like Ken Walls has a small one. It's a 5x8, about 160 pages with little subheadings of slice dice in my book and chapter whatever. It doesn't matter, but if you have a little slice thing, those are very inexpensive to run. Those will be nice gifts. Those will give people what to look forward to, you know, whatever. And that's just like your little synopsis. That's your Cliff Note book. I mean, that's when you look at your book and I go, I love this chapter 10 and I love chapter 3. You take those excerpts and put them there. That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, because you do that and you give it to somebody, they will you know, and then you put in there, order my book at such and such, boom, then you're done.
Okay. Well, that's thank you, Lynn, for that wisdom.
You're welcome. But seriously, that's what I mean. That's how I love you told me that story, because that right there tells me you can have that wish, you can have that dream, but you can't do them with thick ass books. That's only one person. Your arms are only so big. So this way, you can have a briefcase of 20 of those freaking books. They're inexpensive. You can give them out, and it gives them it's like when you get when you're in the Kindle book, you get the first excerpt, you know, of so many pages done.
Oh yeah, like
gift.
10 pages or something like that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, your gist is if you're giving them a little gift like this, so that they get the cliff notes of what to look for in your big book, and it can also be your little short guide, whatever.
Yeah.
But the point is the short guide to the big guy, you know?
Yeah, I like that.
You know? It just would be so cool to say, oh, wow, he talks about this and he talks about that and he talks about this. You're just going to leave him hungry for more, like Les Brown. Leave him hungry.
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 That's awesome.
But seriously, that's what you got. It's a teaser. It's just like you would at a website. You know, you'd let them download that for free even.
Yep.
But then you also make it in a book and give those out and sign that.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm such on a journey with you. My ass is right behind you.
That's awesome.
That's what, you know, iron sharpens iron, right?
Well, absolutely. And it opens it up because it, you know, and obviously after this is a foundation and after it's understood, it's like, then it becomes the norm. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where it's like, okay, anything that is ever new, of course it's going to be new because you've never thought about it or done it before, but then it becomes that.
Listen, I think it's great. We started out this year like this. By the end of the year, you and I'll have some books. We'll probably be like Sherry and Jerry. Like, I wrote 4, he wrote 10. But I'm just saying, I just love that. You know, it's pulling each other, you know, to get that going. And I'm just super excited.
Well, and like all the famous authors and whatnot say, it's like, you know, bring out the greatness in others, right? Or at least some mantra like that, right? And it's you know, so just so you know, you and Jerry know, if he's tuning in or whatever, that words can't express you know, last week what you guys did for me. So I'm truly grateful for you guys and everybody's support. And you know, I internalize a lot of things, and the comments and the sharing, you know, on that one episode, and I've reviewed it several times and I'll continue to do it, but it's that you guys took a stand for me when I didn't know how to take a stand for myself.
But Brian, that's just it. You give from love, so you receive the love back, and that's truly what everyone should come from. Is, you know, you never looked at doing a show with me of what it would come out or what it would be. It's just something you wanted to do, something you've committed to. Same thing I did. And that's all we're doing. We're not coming from any pretense of what is this going to do for me or what's it, whatever. We're allowing the universe to give us whatever we are allowed to get from it. And so be it. But, you know, the blessings are there. And that's what we want to do. Give everyone the blessings of finding what they need, what they want, you know, in us sharing what we want. So again, we're at an hour. We got to get going, but
yes, we do.
the takeaway for me today is truly talk it out, work it out, figure out that you have the right to rewrite on that canvas any way you want. Start over, refresh, go on. I mean, it's just as easy as etch a sketch. You know, you write it, doesn't look good, shake it up, start over. And for you, real quick,
for me, it's about immersion. You know, your experience, your customer experience, immersing yourself. It's like literally like taking that canvas and wrapping it around your head.
oh,
Like literally, like visually doing it. That's that example that that Lynn showed yesterday as a graphic of this whole week, right? The bigger that it is, that's what you make your world, like right there, right? Just imagine it's like that's all you see, so you're not distracted, you're not dealing with noise and all that other junk that's going to keep you away from where you want to be, where you want to paint, right? The more it's in your head, the more you go there. After however many days it takes, whether it's 25 days or 50 days, where it's like that is where you need to be. How you feel inside is your guide, right?
yeah.
You've carved out that space, you feel better as a result of it. The more you immerse yourself in painting your experience, whatever it is, you have a canvas for every part of your life. The more you immerse yourself in painting what it is, and that's what you make everything that you do, you don't worry about anything else. Nothing else. You become desensitized to anything else besides where you need to be and where you want to be.
Absolutely.
That's what I got out of today's show.
Awesome. Well, I love you, Brian.
I love you too.
Stay right there. Okay,
See you
everybody.
tomorrow,
See you
everyone.
tomorrow.